Alright, I'm gonna answer this question. What are some rules that exist in schools or workplaces in your country? Um, so the first one I can think of related to schools is not eating during class time. For example, when the teacher is teaching, you're not allowed to eat. I think it's because when you eat, you make chewing noises, and the smell of the food could also distract other students and even the teacher, which could make them, feel hungry or feel annoyed, and eventually, causing them to lose concentration. Additionally, I think it's just to show respect to the teacher, because when they teach you, they expect you to pay full attention to the lesson. So yeah. As for the workplace, I think in Vietnam, people are expected to be on time, and sometimes they have to leave exactly or even after the required time. So let's say everyone has to be at the office at 9 a.m. in the morning. Then in the afternoon, they can only leave after 5 p.m. I mean, there are some companies that are flexible with this. Like if you can start early, you can leave earlier as well. But for many companies, they're still very strict with the 9 to 5 rule. So yeah, people usually stick to these rules without questioning, because the system is so set in. It's really hard to change. Anyway, yeah, I think it's good. Let's move on to the next one. Do you think that students themselves should have a say in what kinds of school rules there are? Do you think that students themselves have a say in what kinds of school rules there are? There are. Did you think? Did you think that students themselves should have a way what kinds of school rules there are? What kind? What kinds of school? What what kinds of school rules there are? There are. There are many cars on the road. Road. On the road. On the road. Road. Hello. 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 I think it depends on the type of rule, right? So we're talking about rules that are not very important, like uniform, for example, like whether students should allow to wear uniform when they go to school, or can they just wear whatever they want, whatever they feel comfortable in. Well, I think we should let that, leave this power to the children to decide, because at the end of the day, it's them who wear these costumes, wear these clothes. But for more important things like, when can they start lessons and when can they leave school, that should be the teachers. I don't know, the principal or people who are in charge of this to decide, because if we let this, we leave, we let the children to to dictate when they can start a class. I would wager that most of them would choose a very late hours, a very late hour. like 11 a.m. in the morning, and then the end time would be very shortly after, like 12 a.m., 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. I mean, I'm just trying to come up with an example, but I have I might have exaggerated, but you get the idea, right? I think it depends. I think it depends. I think it depends on the rule. I think it depends on the type of rule. If we're talking about rules that are not very important, such as school uniforms, then I think students should have more say in the decision. After all, they're the ones who they are the ones they are the ones they are the ones who have to wear they are the ones who have to wear these clothes every day. So their opinions should be taken into consideration. However, when it comes to more important matters, such as when classes start or when lessons end, or when students are allowed to leave school, I think those decisions should be made by teachers, principals, or other people in charge. They have more experience and understand how schools should operate effectively. If students were allowed to decide everything, some of them might choose to start classes very late, perhaps 11 a.m., or finish shortly afterward at 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. Of course, there's a that's probably an exaggeration, but you get the idea. Students may not always students may not always make decisions that are in their best educational interests. So adults should be responsible for the more important rules. I mean, it depends on the type of rule we're talking about. So, I mean, we're talking about rules that are not very important, like school uniforms, then we should let the children to decide, because at the end of the day, it is them who wear these clothes all the whole day. So they should have the power to vote whether they can, wear whatever they like or comfortable in, or they prefer to wear uniforms. Um, on the flip side, um, for rules that are consequential, such as when classes should start or end, then I think it should be the teachers, principal, or people in charge who make the decision. Because if we let the children to decide, I would imagine that they're gonna choose a very late starting hour, like I don't know, 11 a.m. or and leave school very shortly after, maybe at 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. I mean, I'm just trying to come up with an example, and it's probably I probably exaggerated, but you get the idea, right? Um, Students may not choose the may not make rules that are in their best educational interests. Rather, they may follow their, you know, the comfort Uh, so that doesn't necessarily bring about the best outcome, educational outcome. Oh yeah, it's pretty good, I would say. Okay, let's go go over all the questions all at once. Okay. Question 1. Why do we have rules in society? Well, I think it's very important to have rules in society because when we have rules, people are more likely to obey the rules, and because of that, we can avoid chaotic situations. Because without rules, people would act, I don't know, unruly. They can do whatever they want, which may cause chaos. Uh, Furthermore, having rules helps people act more, I would say, more ethical because they have some you know guidelines to follow. Uh, if there weren't any, um, they're more likely to do things that can sometimes be viewed as uh, unethical or illegal. So having rules is very important. Do you think it's necessary to set up rules about over overworking people? I think we definitely should do that because you know uh, if we don't make rules protecting our workers, people could be exploited. Eventually, they may experience burnout, depression, and some even suffer serious health issues or even commit suicide, which has happened in many countries in Asia like Japan and Korea. Um, yeah. Secondly, this is just my opinion, right? When people are relaxed and satisfied, uh, they're more likely to be productive in the work, and because of that, the company could, become could operate more effectively and increase their profits, become more profitable. Yeah. What are some examples of rules that exist in many families? Well, the first one I can think of is, um, you know, many parents don't allow their children to bring food into their room, their bedrooms, because um, when they do that, rats or ants, ants could follow the sand or the food debris and get into their room, and then it will make nests or this inside the bedroom. So I think it's not only make the room cleaner, but also help family prevent pets and potential diseases like the plague. Yeah. And for so many families, you know, there's a curfew hour especially for for young girls. I think this is because the parents want to protect their children. They don't want their the kids to be laid outside at night because you know there are bad people on the street and they could harm their children. So, or they want the children to be disciplined. Um, so yeah, okay, having discipline is beneficial in their studies, in their uh, career in the future. So yeah, many parents want the children to develop best habits. So they set out they set uh, a limit on when the children have to return home. Yeah. That's, what are some rules that exist in schools and workplaces in your country? First one I can think of is you know you're not allowed to eat during class hours. I mean you can eat between the transition period, but you're not allowed to do so when the teacher is teaching. Um, I think the reason for that is, first of all, to show respect to the teachers because when they're teaching, they want the student to pay full attention to the lesson, and you know, eating can also make chewing noises, which can be distracting for other students. And the smell of the food can also make them feel uncomfortable, annoyed, or even hungry, causing them to lose concentration. Yeah, yeah. Uh, as for the workplace, I think like many companies are very strict about uh, starting time and leaving time for the employees. So yeah, many have a strict 9 to 5 rule that they have to be in the office at or by 9 a.m. and you can only leave after 5 p.m. in India. Yeah. So, but I know that the other companies that are flexible with their time with the schedule. So if you start earlier, like at 8 a.m., then you can leave an hour later, earlier in the afternoon. So, yeah, depends on the company and the culture. Okay, lastly, do you think it, do you think that the students themselves should have a say in what kinds of schools there are? Yeah, but it depends on the type of rule we're talking about. So, if we're talking about the ones that are not very important, like uniforms, then we we should let the children to have more say in what they can wear when they go to school, because at the end of the day, it's them who wear these clothes to school, right? They have to wear it all day long, so they should have the right in choosing what kind of costumes they can wear when they go to class to make them feel comfortable, or something that make them feel confident, or something that they like, whatever. But when it comes to, you know, things that are important, like such as when classes start and when they end, then I think it should be the teachers, principal, or people who are in charge to to make the decisions, to make a decision. Because I mean, if we let the kids to decide when they can start their lessons, then I think most of them would choose a very late hour, like 11 a.m. for example. So, and then they may wanna leave shortly afterward, like 12 p.m. 1 p.m. I don't know. They may not choose. They may not choose the rules that are best for their educational interest. Rather, they choose the ones that usually choose the ones that make them feel, you know, at ease or beneficial for their comfort.
Tí tí tí.
Not dong. Not dong. Attrapez-le. Attrapez-le. I think rules are extremely important in society because they help maintain order and prevent chaos. When people follow rules, society can function more smoothly and safely. Without rules, people could do whatever they wanted. Without rules, people could do whatever they wanted, which might lead to conflicts, dangerous dangerous situations. Furthermore, rules can encourage to behave in more ethical and responsible manner because they provide clear guidelines what is acceptable and unacceptable. Without such a guideline, without such without such guidelines, some individual some some individuals may engage in activities that are harmful and unfair to others. Ethical, responsible manner, by providing clear guidelines, what is acceptable, unacceptable. Without such guidelines, some individuals may engage in activities that are harmful, illegal, or unfair to others. Do you think it's necessary to set up rules about overworking people? Yes, I definitely think so. If there were no regulations protecting workers, some employers might exploit them by requiring working excessively long working hours. This could lead to burnout, depression, and serious health problems. Several episodes burnout In extreme cases, it might even contribute to suicide. It has unfortunately been a concern in some countries. In addition, employees who are well rested and satisfied with their working conditions tend to be more productive and motivated. As a result, companies can operate more effectively, become more profitable in the long run. Become more profitable in the long run. What are some examples of rules that exist in many families? One common family rule that children is that common family rule is that children are not allowed to bring food into their bedrooms. This is because food crumbs can attract insects or rodents, making the room dirty and hygienic. Therefore, this rule helps keep the house clean and prevents potential Health issues. Potential health issues. Another common rule is having a curfew, especially for younger children and teenagers. Parents often want their children to come home for a certain time because they are concerned about their safety. They may worry about potential dangers late at night. Want to ensure that children develop good habits, self-discipline. What are some rules that exist in schools and workplaces in your country? One school rule that comes to mind is that students are not allowed to eat during class. They can eat during breaks or between lessons, but not while the teacher is teaching. I think this rule exists for two reasons. First, show respect for the teacher because students are expected to pay full attention to the lesson. Second, eating can be distracting. The noise of chewing and the smell of food may disturb other students, make it harder for them to concentrate. As for workplaces, many companies are strict about working hours. For example, employees may be required to arrive by 9 a.m. and leave at 5 p.m. However, some organizations offer flexible schedules. In those workplaces, employees who start earlier may be allowed to finish work earlier as well. Finisher. Do you think students should have a say in what schools they are? Yes, but it depends on the type of rule. For less important matters such as school uniforms, I believe students should have some input. After all, they're the ones who have to wear those clothes every day, so their opinions should be taken into account. However, for more important issues, such as school hours and academic policy, I think decisions should be made by teachers and principals, rather than educational professionals. They have more experience and better understanding of what is best for students' education. Students were allowed to decide everything. Many of them might choose to start school much later, perhaps at 11 a.m. Finish shortly afterward. And finish shortly afterward. Well, that might sound appealing to students, it would not necessarily in their best educational interests. Therefore, most decisions important decisions should remain in the hands of those who are responsible for running the school. And that sounds very formal. This is tribute. This is homage. Il a disparu. Give me a